In today's 3D printed Thursday, we're looking at the zip tie mount. Now this is a very simple design. It's actually the second time the creator of this has designed this mount. The first one was quite a bit larger. This one I liked because of how simple it was, and it just kind of took away everything you didn't need in order to make a zip tie mount. So what they did was, instead of having holes to pass the zip ties through, if you like my DIY zip tie, like the zipper, there's a zip tie mount a while ago that I reviewed, those all have holes where the zip ties pass through. This one just has really big notches. So you just take the zip ties and slot them into the notches, and it keeps the mount in place. Now, it's quite ingenious. If the surface is flat, it doesn't work so well because it's easier to get a little bit of tension to get the zip ties out of the notch. So a little bit, there are drawbacks, but for helmet mounting or just mounting onto smaller objects, it's pretty darn ingenious. In terms of strength of this mount, well, it's a 3D printed mount, and it all depends on the materials you're printing with and the properties you're using to print. Mine was printed at, I think, 50% infill, and it's not something I'm going to trust to mount on top of a helmet. It's not something I'm going to trust to take any kinds of impacts. I'm printing in PLA, and sure, if you're much more experienced at 3D printing than I am, you might be able to print something with the strength to withstand bumps and bangs. I wouldn't trust this to actually helmet mount, but for static mounts, it would be absolutely great. And that is where the strength of the zip ties, for me, are really strong, because it allows me to static mount the GoPro onto different inanimate objects, quickly get the shots I want, and then just cut the zip ties and move on, and very quickly move between permanent fixed mounting locations without a lot of setup time. It all comes down to how fast you can set up, capture the moment, and move on. If you're going to sit there and fiddle with little handlebar mounts for just a single static shot, it's not really worth it. So super cool. Zip tie mounts are great. Being able to move it between locations quickly is really cool. But let's look at how it actually works by doing exactly what I said I wouldn't do, and mounting it onto a helmet. To mount the zip tie mount onto our helmet, we're going to place the mount in the center of the helmet, pass the zip tie through one of the vented vents on top of our helmet, and then place the zip tie, what's left of the zip tie, into one of the notches. Tighten the zip tie up. Do the same thing with another zip tie for the second notch. Tighten them both down, and just like that, the zip tie mount is mounted. Now, one thing, and this actually brings us to improvements on the mount that I would change, or how I would modify this mount going forward, is actually to mount a little bit of non-skid onto the bottom of it. So if you get something like a drawer liner at a hardware store, there's that really non-stick, or really, sorry, not non-stick, but really rubbery drawer liner you can get sometimes at hardware stores for toolboxes. Get a little bit of that, cut it to the size of this mount, hot glue it to the bottom, and that'll give you a really nice rubbery surface so that it doesn't move around on top of the helmet. The other thing you could use is that non-skid that goes underneath rugs. IKEA sells huge pieces of it for really, really cheap, and it's great stuff because it's rubbery and very, well, it's non-skid, so it will not let the stuff move. So just hot glue some of that to the bottom, and it'll really help cut down on the slipperiness and the movement of this mount when you have it zip tied to things. Overall, I was very impressed, and I do love the simplicity of the design. A couple of things I would change is that the nut holder here on the side is a little bit too big. Now, while it is nice because it means if your printer isn't very accurate, the nut will always fit, but it also means that when you undo this, the nut does fall out. So I have seen a couple of 3D mounts out there that I have printed that don't have this problem. The nut pops in just like a standard GoPro mount, and it doesn't fall out when you remove the bolt. But this one, the nut slot is a little bit too big, so there's a little bit of slop in there, and when you undo the bolt, it'll fall out. Not the end of the world. A little dab of super glue, a little dab of hot glue will keep it in, but it is just something that if you were looking for improvements on this, you could change. All in all, though, I am very impressed. Guys, if you want to check this mount out, you can find links to it down in the video description. If you've seen any 3D mounts out there, or 3D designed GoPro mounts out there that you want to see checked out, tested on this show, leave them down in the video description, email them to me, Facebook them to me, tweet them at me. You can find ways to do that down below. But most of all, guys, until next time, thank you very, very much for watching.